Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is finally bouncing from this exact area of support as the price is now playing out this oversold signal here in the short term again, while Ethereum and Solana are also now playing out these oversold signals just in the short term. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the 4-day Bitcoin chart, and right now the super trend indicator is still sitting in the red, so not much has changed here on this time frame over the last one day. And if we're getting straight into the 2-day Bitcoin chart, at least for now, we're still forming significant lower highs and lower lows in this larger bearish trend on the larger time frames until we can finally see a breakout above this resistance. At that point, we can start to flip more bullish again on the longer term trend, but obviously for now, we have not yet seen a breakout above this resistance. And so for now, the longer term trend has not changed over the last 1 to 2 days. So getting straight into this daily Bitcoin chart, and over the last 1 day, we've seen a continued spike to the upside in the DXY. As you can see here, a major breakout in the DXY, basically confirming this double bottom pattern, also known as a W pattern. And that's a massive bullish pattern for the DXY, which is bearish for Bitcoin. So just keep this in mind, even though we're seeing a major bounce, at least as of right now in the short term, from support in the price of Bitcoin, just keep in mind that the DXY is having a major move to the upside as well, which is still a bearish signal that we need to be aware of. But as I also say over and over again here on the channel, no indicator is 100% perfect all of the time. So there are some time periods in the short term where the DXY and the Bitcoin price might move in the same direction, but more often than not, most of the time, they're moving in opposite directions. But with that being said, taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, and right now the price of Bitcoin in the short term is bouncing from this major area of support right here that I've been talking about over the last few days. And this area of support is still sitting in between around 60.2k to 61.2k. So around 60 to 61,000 is currently the area of support that we need to pay attention to. And now if we were to see a confirmed break back below around $60,000, so candle closes back below 60k, in that case, we could have some short-term levels to the downside, but really the next major area of support to the downside below 60k is sitting in between around 56 to 57,000. But once again, at least as of right now, 60 to 61,000 is currently acting as support. And so this is one of two reasons as to why we're seeing a slight bounce here in the short term from this support. And I'll talk about the second reason in just a moment. But first, when it comes to resistance to the upside to pay attention to, we should expect some resistance closer towards 63,000 and more resistance at around 64,500. And then once again, significant resistance starting close to 67,000 and going up towards around 68,000. And really, until we see a breakout above around 68k, above these previous highs right here, until we actually see that confirm, we really can't flip overly bullish again on the larger time frames until we can confirm a breakout above around 67 to 68,000. Until then, the only bullish price action that we're seeing is just shorter term bullish price action during this larger bearish trend. And so that is the current situation for Bitcoin right now. That's the trends that we're in, but the short-term situation bouncing from support right now. And the second reason as to why we're potentially seeing a slight bullish relief in the short term is due to the fact that we recently confirmed this oversold signal here in the 6-hour Bitcoin RSI. And so due to this, over the last couple of days here on the channel, I've been telling you that we're most likely going to see at least a bit of a sideways consolidation or maybe a slight bounce here in the short term. So basically a bit of a break or a relief from all of this bearish price action. That's what I've been saying over the last few days, saying we should be expecting that over the next couple of days. And so far, we're seeing exactly that as expected. And now it's important to understand that an oversold signal is not necessarily enough to confirm a massive new bullish trend. So ultimately, we'll have to confirm other bullish signals in order to flip much more bullish again in terms of the trends, like breakouts above key resistance, for example. But at least in the short term, maybe over the next 1 day, as it is already starting to play out, once again, we're due to see a slight relief or a break from all of this bearish price action. But this basically resets the RSI back to the upside towards more neutral levels, which is basically what's happened so far over the last 1 to 2 days. And so technically, this now gives us more room to the downside to potentially continue the bearish trend later on at some point. And so overall, the trend and momentum in the market, especially on the larger timeframes, is still currently bearish, but in the imminent short term, we're bouncing from major support and playing out that oversold signal, which was expected over the last 1 to 2 days. And once again, this could likely continue for a little longer just in the short term, perhaps until we start getting closer towards some major resistance at around 63 and especially 64,500. And then only if we can start breaking out above major resistance, only at that point we can start flipping more bullish again in terms of the trend and momentum here in the short term. And once again, we can only start flipping more bullish again on the larger time frames, expecting a bull run if we break out above around 68,000. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I take just about all of my trades over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on an account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video to make your Bybit account. And also, if you click that link, it'll take you to this page right here, which is my official Crypto World team in the World Series of trading, which is the biggest trading competition in the world, and it's happening right now over on Bybit. And it's completely free to join my Crypto World team if you use that link down below this video. Once again, it'll take you to this page right here. As the more people that join our team in this competition, the better our chances are at actually placing well in the competition to potentially win a share in the prize pool, which this year is a $10 million prize pool. And not only that, there's also lucky draw prizes. So even if you're not the best trader in the world, basically just by joining my team and entering the competition, you enter into this lucky draw to potentially win a Rolex watch or possibly even a luxury yacht. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is Bitfinex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitfinex, which means if you're in the US or the UK, for example, or another country where you might not be able to access Bybit, you can access Bitfinex. So I'll also leave a link to Bitfinex down below this video. And if you use that link, you can get up to a 5.5k deposit bonus. And only if you use that link, you can get an exclusive 10% discount on all trading fees on the Bitfinex exchange forever. But that's only if you use the link down below this video to make your Bitfinex account. And so as another option out there other than Bybit, once again, there's Bitfinex, links down below if you want to claim those extra bonuses. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and right now we still have that major amount of liquidity sitting just underneath $60,000, around 59.7k give or take. But once again, that level of liquidity is sitting just below this major area of support, which we are currently bouncing from. So we also need to pay attention to other charts, not just rely on one chart by itself. And so other than that level of liquidity to the downside at around 59.7k, we have smaller amounts of liquidity to the upside, for example, at around 63.3k to 63.4k, and a decent amount of liquidity closer towards 64,500, and a pretty large amount of liquidity at around 66.4k. But once again, between the current price and those higher levels of liquidity, we also have to remember that there's resistance between now and then where the price could possibly struggle at. And with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, right now, technically speaking, we've not confirmed a bullish trend reversal out of this larger bearish trend, but we're still holding above this massive area of support, still sitting in between 2150 to 2.2k. So for now, that is still the massive area of support to pay attention to. And as for resistance, we should expect some resistance close towards around 2450 to 2.5k based on previous support and resistance, and also a significant amount of resistance at around 2.8k. And with that being said, if we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 12-hour time frame, obviously over the last half a week to nearly 1 week, we played out this bearish divergence pretty much perfectly with a pullback, which is one of the most common outcomes from a bearish divergence. But what's also happened just recently over the last 1 to 2 days is the 12-hour Ethereum RSI has gotten extremely close to oversold territories. It basically brushed against oversold territories. And if you're looking at the RSI on smaller time frames, it's likely already entered into oversold territories and confirmed an oversold signal on smaller time frames. And so ultimately, we're just seeing something similar at the moment for Ethereum as to what we're seeing for Bitcoin. Basically, on the 6-hour chart for Bitcoin, once again, we confirmed that oversold signal, and the 6-hour chart would likely look something similar for Ethereum, seeing a slight bounce, a slight relief from the bearish price action here in the short term, playing out this oversold signal. And if we're looking at the last couple of times, we confirmed an oversold signal in the 12-hour Ethereum RSI. We saw that right near the beginning of August, and that occurred right around a local low before we did see a decent bounce over the next few days or so. And if we're looking at this next example, that occurred near the beginning of September, and we also saw a bit of a bullish relief over the next half a week, give or take. But once again, this does not necessarily mean no more bearish price action. It just means in the short term, maybe for a couple of days, we could see a slight bullish relief or a bit of choppy sideways price action. So basically a bit of a break from all of the bearish price action to reset the RSI back to the upside. And so that is the current situation for Ethereum, very similar to Bitcoin at the moment. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the daily time frame, over the last one day, we actually confirmed a daily candle close slightly below this area of support, which was sitting in between around 138 to 143. And we confirmed the daily candle close at close to 137. But it's possible that this could be a fake out to the downside. Basically, we could potentially quickly invalidate that break to the downside if we can quickly see a daily candle close back above around 143. And based on where Solana is currently trading at the time of recording this video, it is looking potentially likely that we could see that daily candle close back above 143. So we just have to wait and see over the next few hours before we actually confirm this daily candle close. And if that actually happens, if we remain above this area of support when the daily candle actually closes, when it confirms, then in that case, this will likely continue to act as support, at least in the short term here. But if we actually see this retest and fail to break back above this area, and instead we see some sort of rejection like this in order to basically flip previous support into new resistance, in that case, if we see some sort of retest and fail to break out back above, then in that case, we'll likely see a continued move to the downside back down towards this major area of support in between around 120 to 128. But once again, that scenario would be invalidated if we see a breakout very soon confirmed back above around 143. And as for resistance, we still have significant resistance right here in between around 159 to 163, which is exactly where we rejected from multiple times. And we also have a bit of short-term resistance closer towards around 153 to 154 based on previous price action. And also, if we see a continued bullish relief in the coming days and weeks for the price of Solana, then in that situation, there's the possibility that there's a massive inverse head and shoulders pattern forming right now on this daily Solana chart. But keep in mind, as of right now, that potential inverse head and shoulders pattern currently is far from complete. And if we're zooming into that 8-hour time frame, obviously over the last half week to 1 week, as I've been saying here on the channel, we've pretty much perfectly played out this bearish divergence in the short term in the form of a short-term pullback, which is one of the most common outcomes from a bearish divergence. And in this process of pulling the price back to the downside here in the short term, we've also seen a pullback in the RSI on the 8-hour time frame to the point where the 8-hour Solana RSI got extremely close to oversold territories for the first time since near the beginning of September. And if you zoom into smaller time frames, it's likely already confirmed an oversold signal on smaller time frames. And if we're looking at the last couple of times this signal has confirmed on the 8-hour time frame, we saw this back near the beginning of August and also near the beginning of September. And in both of those situations, we saw a slight bullish relief or even a larger bounce back to the upside, but ultimately a bit of a break or a relief from all of the bearish price action. And in some ways, these previous outcomes from these previous oversold signals in the 8-hour Solana RSI were somewhat contingent on the bearish price action that came before the oversold signals. So, for example, in this first example right here, we saw a lot of bearish price action almost straight to the downside, and then we saw a lot of bullish price action almost straight to the upside following this oversold signal. And so in a way, it's kind of like how every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And we saw something similar this second example right here, where we saw more mild bearish price action, and then we saw more mild bullish price action following the oversold signal. And so if we're looking at the bearish price action that we saw this time around leading into this oversold signal, or very close to an oversold signal on the 8-hour time frame, we'll likely see something somewhat similar to this bearish price action, but of course the opposite, so an equal and opposite reaction, but not necessarily back up towards this high like we saw in these previous examples. And so that is the current situation right now for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. And that's what I'm expecting in the short term, maybe for the next 1 or 2 days as we're playing out this oversold signal. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, once again, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.